They said kill her father or sign him over. She chose marriage. To two men, Korean mafia twins who shared everything. Their empire, their secrets, and now her. One rule was non-negotiable: she would sleep in their bed, belong to both, and there'd be no choosing between them. This story gets darker fast. Stay until the end, and don't forget to subscribe because you're not ready for how far this goes. 3 days earlier, under a flickering fluorescent light, Ivy faced the contract that decided her father's life. The room smelled of stale coffee and disinfectant. Two men stood across from her, identical in height and build, but not in temperature. Park Jun looked like he might forgive her father if she begged. His gaze was warm, almost hopeful. Park Jae watched her like every breath she took was a calculated risk. Cold, precise, unreadable. Their presence pressed the air thinner. Jun slid the pen toward her. Sign, and he walks out alive. Ivy's throat tightened. I want proof. Jae didn't blink. After. No, her voice cracked but held. Now, a brief, amused glance passed between the twins, one warm, one sharp, before June reached into a folder and placed a small photograph on the table. Ivy's father stood outside a clinic door, wristband visible, sun hitting his tired smile. Alive. Her knees weakened, but she forced herself still. She had no luxury of collapse. 20 million naira had dragged her here. Her father's weakness, her burden, she signed. Ink met paper, sealing her future to two men she'd never wanted to meet. June exhaled softly, almost relieved. Jae leaned closer. Understand something, he said quietly. We don't break our promises, and we don't share halfway. She couldn't decide whether that was reassurance or a threat. The flight leaves tonight, June said. You'll live with us. Seoul will be an adjustment. A prison? Ivy challenged. A home, June corrected gently. A controlled one, Jae added. When she stood, Jae's voice followed her like a shadow. And Ivy, don't run. You won't like how that ends. She didn't look back. The next hours blurred. A silent car ride. A private jet. The weight of a future she hadn't chosen pressing against her ribs. When she landed in Seoul, dawn hung low across the sky, painting the city in muted gold. The mansion didn't scream danger. It whispered at massive glass panels, a minimalist courtyard, guards who didn't need to show weapons for her to feel them. A woman from the staff guided Ivy inside. The cool interior air brushed her skin, smelling faintly of eucalyptus. Everything felt too clean, too deliberate. This will be your room, the woman said, opening a door to a warm, modern guest suite. It was beautiful, too beautiful. Ivy stepped in, then paused. The twins, what do they expect from me tonight? The woman's polite expression flickered. Before she could answer, June appeared in the doorway. We expect you to share the master bedroom, he said gently, holding a folded cobalt scarf. Just sleep. Nothing more, unless you choose it. Jae stood behind him, holding a tray with steaming jollof rice, clearly a chef's attempt at Nigerian comfort food. The scent struck her unexpectedly, hitting places in her chest she wasn't prepared for. We weren't sure what you liked, Jae said, tone flat but not unkind. We tried. Ivy didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. She entered her guest room. Jae set the bowl quietly on the bedside table, then placed something else next to it, a framed photo. Her father again, this time holding a prescription bag, smiling. Alive, safe. Because of them, or because she now belonged to them. Her hands shook when she picked up the frame. She hated that relief and dread collided in her throat. She hated that they made her feel anything at all. Later, when she had no choice but to walk into the master bedroom, she rehearsed ways to keep her breathing steady. The room was dimly lit, warm, lived in. June lounged against the headboard, watching a show quietly. Jae read a book beneath a lamp. Two different temperatures of presence, always. Ivy, June said with a soft smile, come in. She approached the bed carefully, like stepping toward a cliff at night. We don't bite, June teased. We do lock the door, Jae added, rising to set the book aside. The automatic click echoed behind her. Ivy swallowed. I don't want this to be, she began. A debt? June finished. It isn't. You're not currency anymore. You're ours, Jay said softly. But not our prisoner. You'll understand the difference soon, June added. She lay down between them, stiff at first. The mattress dipped gently beneath their weight. The sheets smelled faintly of cedarwood and soap. June kept his distance, offering warmth without touch. Jay didn't move closer, but his presence cloaked the right side of her body like gravity. For the first time since signing the contract, Ivy let out a shaky breath. She wasn't safe, but she wasn't dead. And tonight, that was enough. Her eyes were just starting to close when the door lock clicked again. Someone outside, checking, securing, ensuring she stayed inside. Not a prison, not freedom, a life she wasn't ready for, tied to two men she didn't yet understand, but she would. And the world they pulled her into was just beginning. The next morning, Ivy woke to the faint glow of Seoul slipping through sheer curtains. For a second, she forgot where she was. Then she felt the warmth beside her, June already awake, scrolling through messages with soft concentration. Jay sat at the small table by the window, black coffee steaming between his hands. She sat up quickly, pulling the blanket to her shoulders. Do you both just watch me sleep? June laughed lightly. Only he does. Jay didn't look up. I watch everything. Ivy swung her legs over the bed and stood before either man could offer help. She needed oxygen, space, something that didn't smell like cedarwood and male confidence. June rose. We're going out today. I'm not ready to be paraded, she said sharply. You're not a trophy, he countered. But you should see the city that's now part of your life, Jay added. And people need to see you with us. He finally looked at her. Visibility keeps you alive. It wasn't a threat, just a fact. Still, it tightened her ribcage. Before Ivy could react, June placed a small card in her hand. A transit pass, neutral, practical, a gesture of freedom. If you ever want time alone, he said, this works anywhere in Seoul. Jay's jaw flexed, but he didn't contradict him. Ivy stared at the pass. A test, a temptation, a reminder she was watched even when she wasn't restrained. Breakfast first, June said, breaking the tension. Hours later, she found herself standing in the middle of a busy market square. Vendors called out prices over sizzles of oil and clouds of steam. A drumline rhythm vibrated through the ground. Ivy felt the city like a pulse beneath her feet. June walked beside her, hands tucked casually in his pockets, greeting strangers with an ease she didn't expect from a MAFIA heir. He bought her grilled rice cakes from a vendor before she could refuse. Try it, he coaxed. Sweet, chewy, and life-changing. Ivy bit into it reluctantly. Warm sweetness melted across her tongue. Okay, that's actually good. June grinned like he'd won a prize. Told you. Jay, who had insisted on coming despite his sour expression, kept a few paces behind. His presence wasn't just protective, it was evaluative. As though he was studying the world for threats Ivy didn't know existed. What? She asked, when she caught him staring. You walk like you're ready to sprint, Jay said. Maybe I am. He raised a brow. Then sprint. I'll catch you. Her heart stuttered. She hated how he did that, stated things with such calm certainty it left no room for defiance. She turned away and focused on the hum of the market. Later that afternoon, back at the mansion, a staff member delivered a tray to Ivy's guest room. When she lifted the lid, the smell hit her instantly. Egusi soup. Thick and fragrant, almost perfect. Someone had tried very hard to replicate her mother's recipe. Jay lingered in the doorway. Your chef in Lagos gave instructions over video call. Ivy looked up slowly. Why? He shrugged as though the answer were obvious. Comfort makes people honest. She didn't know what that meant, but the sincerity in his expression disarmed her more than any threat could. That night, she called her sister Maya. The staff had given her a phone with an international line, another gesture that felt like both trust and surveillance. Maya answered breathlessly. Ivy? Ivy, are you safe? I'm alive. Ivy hesitated. Dad? He's working at the clinic again, Maya whispered. He's doing better. But Ivy, where are you? Are they? A sharp pop cracked in the background of the call. Not from Maya's side, from outside Ivy's window. Gunfire. The line stayed open. Ivy froze, phone trembling in her hand. Jay burst into her room first, gun drawn, eyes scanning. June followed, expression stripped of warmth. Inside, Jay commanded, pulling her behind him. Now. More gunshots echoed from the front gate, rapid, controlled bursts. Ivy shoved the phone into her pocket, adrenaline flooding her system. Is this because of me? She whispered. June didn't answer. His silence was worse than truth. The attack ended as suddenly as it began. The alarms quieted. Footsteps downstairs indicated the guards had taken control. Jay approached her, steady and unreadable. Someone took a shot at the convoy earlier today. This was connected. Ivy's pulse thrashed. Were they trying to kill you or kidnap me? Both, Jay said bluntly. June placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. We won't let anything happen to you. She believed he meant it. She wasn't sure if she should. The next few days blurred into a cautious routine. Guarded outings, tentative conversations, silence-filled dinners. Ivy kept her distance emotionally. But the twins, especially June, kept breaking her defenses with small acts of genuine care. One night, about 3 weeks into this strange existence, Ivy found herself sitting on the balcony with June. Seoul lights glittered like scattered diamonds below them. He told her stories about childhood mischief with Jay, about breaking into their father's study, about losing their mother young. She told him nothing about her own griefs. But June seemed to understand that silence was an answer too. You smile less than you should, he said softly. I don't have much to smile about. I think you do. You just don't trust it yet. His sincerity scraped something raw inside her. Later, when she returned to the bedroom, Jay sat on the edge of the bed, polishing a watch. You're quiet tonight. I'm thinking. Dangerous habit, he murmured. She sat across from him. Why did you really bring me here? Beyond the debt. Jay's eyes held hers. Because you're ours. That's not an answer. It's the only one that matters. His honesty, dark, unfiltered, unapologetic, made her breath catch. The weeks of tension, fear, unexpected comfort, it all collided in her chest. And for the first time, Ivy didn't run from the pull. She leaned in. June entered the room just as Jay's fingers brushed her cheek, but he didn't interrupt. He only watched, his expression softening with understanding, with patience. Ivy swallowed hard. If anything happens between us, it has to be because I want it. Then want, Jay murmured. She did. What followed was slow, deliberate, and entirely hers to choose. Euphemistic, gentle, intense in different ways with each man. Trust woven thread by thread. Later, curled beneath the dim lamp, Ivy whispered, I don't want this to be because I owe you. Jay's voice dropped. We never counted debt against you. Before she could process that, the mansion alarm beeped softly, a gate sensor triggered. June rose and checked the monitor. Someone left something at the door, a single white flower, placed carefully, deliberately. Ivy's skin prickled. Nothing about her new life would stay peaceful for long. By the second month, Ivy had learned something dangerous about the Park twins. They weren't trying to own her life. They were trying to fit into it. And that made everything harder. The mansion, once a place she slept with one eye open, began feeling unnervingly familiar. Every morning, the quiet hum of the kitchen woke her before the sun did. Every evening, the city flickered beneath the balcony, where June sometimes coaxed her to talk. And every night, Jay's watchful presence reminded her that affection didn't always come wrapped in warmth, it sometimes came in vigilance. Ivy tried not to settle. She tried to remember. This began with debt and desperation. But small moments betrayed her. Like how June would bring pastries from a bakery, he said, felt like her energy. Or how Jay memorized the precise amount of pepper she liked in her rice. Or how Maya laughed over the phone one night and said, Sis, you sound happier than before. Happier. The word felt like a trap. A month after the first attack, Ivy found herself in the kitchen on a quiet morning, sleeves rolled up, helping the chef chop vegetables. She didn't know why cooking grounded her. Maybe it reminded her of Lagos, of heat and noise, and a life that wasn't shadowed by men with guns. June wandered in, hair still damp from a shower, sleeves rolled to his elbows. "You're cooking without me?" "Betrayal. You burn onions," Ivy said. "I burn them passionately." She tried not to smile. She failed. Jay entered moments later, scanning the room automatically. Always assessing. Always preparing for a threat Ivy didn't see. "You shouldn't be holding a knife," he said. "It's a kitchen," she deadpanned. "I'm not planning a murder." Jay stepped closer, lowered his voice. "Even so, your hands weren't made for danger." Her heart tightened. His protectiveness was infuriating and frighteningly comforting. Later that afternoon, Ivy joined June for a walk through a nearby botanical garden. They walked slowly, June explaining the meaning of each flower, in an uncharacteristically nerdy tone: iris for faith, peonies for honor, camellias for longing. "And this one?" Ivy asked, pointing to a blossom shaped like a star. "That's the Amsonia." June smiled. "It means delicate strength. I feel like it fits you." She didn't know how to respond. The compliment slipped under her guard like warm light through cracks. That night, she sat alone on the bed, replaying the past week's June's ease, Jay's quiet acts of service, her own shifting breath, whenever either man touched her hand or said her name. This wasn't supposed to happen. She was supposed to endure, survive, escape, not feel. She opened her journal, a small brown notebook she'd bought secretly at the market. She wrote, "I love them differently, but is that allowed?" She closed the book quickly, as though the confession could betray her if anyone walked in. Guilt bloomed like a bruise. June gave her joy, light, laughter, a sense of being seen in soft places. Jay gave her fire connection, born in silence. Protection that felt like anchoring, not ownership. How could she love two people in two different languages? That same week, Ivy found herself researching late into the night relationship psychology, polyamory dynamics, ethics of shared partnerships. She cleared her browsing history each time, but the questions dug deeper. Can a heart be divided without breaking? 2 months became 3, 3 became 4. Time didn't blur. It sharpened. Patterns formed. Mondays, June woke her early for rooftop breakfasts and shared sunrise musings. Wednesdays, Jay brought her printouts of the twins' business transitions, not to intimidate her, but so she could understand the world she lived in. Fridays, the three of them had movie nights, where Ivy chose the film, June provided commentary, and Jay pretended not to enjoy either. The guilt didn't fade. It thickened. One evening, Ivy sat on the balcony with Maya on speakerphone. The city hummed beneath her, neon signs glowing like restless stars. "So you're falling?" Maya asked carefully. "I don't want to." Ivy pressed her forehead to the railing. "It's not fair to them, or to me." "Fair doesn't exist," Maya murmured. "But real does. Do you trust them?" That question roared louder than the city traffic. Ivy whispered, "I trust them in different ways." "That might be enough," Maya said. "Maybe." Or maybe it was a dangerous lie she was willing to tell herself. The 5th month brought small storms, arguments, confessions, tension that felt like it had its own gravity. One night she snapped at June for being too cheerful after a stressful meeting. He didn't get angry. He just held her hands gently until her breathing steadied. Another night, she pressed Jay about the attack a month ago. He didn't deflect. He told her the truth, how a rival syndicate saw Ivy as leverage. "You're not a weakness," Jay said. "You're a reason to win." The words rattled her. By the 6th month, the guilt finally cracked her open. She sat between June and Jay on the bed one warm night, the city whispering through the open window. She couldn't keep pretending. "I'm wrong for this," she whispered. "I don't love you the same. I feel more joy with June. I feel more intensity with Jay. I'm not equal. I'm failing you both." Silence wrapped around them. Then June cupped her face, expression warm and unshaken. Different doesn't mean less. Love isn't a scale. Jay nodded slowly. You feel us uniquely. That's the point. We don't want matching pieces of you. We want the full, honest version. Ivy's breath trembled. So you're not hurt? June smiled. Jay shook his head. Together, they answered. No. Relief poured through her like warm water. For the first time since the forced marriage, Ivy let herself exhale without guilt. Later that night, when she opened the drawer beside the bed to put away her notebook, she found something she hadn't seen before. A black suit. Her size, perfectly tailored. Beside it sat a sealed envelope. No sender. No markings. Just one line. If anything happens, trust this man. Her skin prickled. Who sent it? Why? Was someone watching the twins more closely than she realized? Ivy closed the drawer slowly. Her heart beat with a truth she couldn't ignore. Peace was temporary. Love was growing. And danger was coming. The 6th month began quietly, too quietly. The kind of calm Ivy now recognized as the air holding its breath before something breaks. It happened on a Thursday evening. Dinner had just ended, the twins arguing lightly about which film to watch. June wanted a romance. Jay wanted a thriller where people made rational decisions. Ivy rolled her eyes at both and stood to clear the plates. That's when the first shot hit. A crack split the air like glass breaking inside her skull. The floor trembled. The windows shook in their frames. June reacted first, grabbing Ivy and shoving her behind the kitchen island as another gunshot tore through the front courtyard. Jay moved with lethal precision, pulling a weapon from a concealed drawer, as though he'd prepared for this exact second. Stay behind me, June whispered, voice shaking but gentle. Jay barked, move now. And the three of them sprinted through the hallway as shouts erupted outside. Guards yelled orders. Alarms blared. The house lights flickered red. Ivy stumbled as they reached the foyer. A bullet shattered a vase inches from her head. June tackled her to the floor, wrapping his body around hers, shielding her completely. Then came the scream, a sound Ivy would remember forever, June's body jerking violently above her. June, Ivy's voice cracked. Blood? There was blood on his shirt. Too much. Jay fired back at the attackers with terrifying calm, grabbing June with his free arm. He's breathing. He clipped out, as if forcing reality to obey. Get up, Ivy. Get up now. Her legs barely worked, but adrenaline dragged her upright. 2 guards reached them, lifting June between them. We have to evacuate, one shouted. No, Jay snapped. Bring him downstairs. Secure Ivy first. But the attackers had already breached the outer hall. A masked man lunged, grabbing Ivy's arm with brutal force. She screamed, twisting, nails digging into his wrist. He tried dragging her toward the open glass doors. Let me go. The man lifted a hand to strike her, but Jay was faster. Ivy didn't even see him move. One moment the attacker was standing, the next he was on the ground, disarmed. Choking on his own breath as Jay pressed a knee into his chest. Touch her again, Jay growled, voice low and murderous, and you won't make it to the ambulance. The man went still. Jay grabbed Ivy's wrist, not gently, but not painfully, and yanked her back toward the stairs. Move. Now. Ivy turned to check on June. His eyes fluttered open for a second. Ivy, he rasped, reaching weakly. I'm here, she whispered, even as the guards hauled him toward the bunker level. Then, Jay grabbed her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. Listen to me. Don't freeze. Don't faint. Don't argue. Go downstairs. Stay in the secured room and do not open the door until I return. Understood? She tried to nod, but fear strangled the motion. Ivy, Jay snapped. Answer. Yes, she gasped. I understand. He released her. Not tenderly, not cruelly, just necessarily. More gunfire erupted outside. Jay disappeared into the chaos, barking orders in Korean. The guards tugged Ivy toward the basement, but she resisted for 1 second, just long enough to see June's blood on the marble floor. Then, she let herself be pulled. The panic room wasn't what she expected. No metal walls or flickering lights, just a reinforced suite, disguised as a polished lounge, soft beige couches, stocked bookshelves, a kitchenette, a medical bed. They set June onto it. A medic immediately started working, pressing gauze to the wound, speaking rapid, clipped Korean that Ivy only half understood. "He's alive," one guard said to her. The bullet missed the lung. Ivy covered her mouth with both hands, fighting the sob rising from her chest. War. This was war. She backed against the wall, sliding down until she hit the floor. Every muscle in her body shook. Her wrists burned from where the attacker had grabbed her. Her ears rang from the gunfire. She whispered, "Why? Why did they come for us?" No one answered. Minutes felt like hours. The lights continued flashing red. Muffled shouts echoed from upstairs. Then silence. A heavy, suffocating silence that settled like dust over fear. June finally passed out from blood loss or sedation. She couldn't tell which. When a guard offered to escort her to a safer interior room, Ivy shook her head. "No, I'm not leaving him." The guard hesitated, then nodded. Eventually, the alarm stopped. But Jay didn't come back. Not for minutes. Not for an hour. The longer he was gone, the more Ivy's panic sharpened. She paced the room, palms sweating, mind spinning through worst-case scenarios. Finally, footsteps approached. Heavy, controlled, Jay entered with 2 surviving guards behind him. His knuckles were scraped. His shirt was spattered with blood, none of it his. His hair hung damp against his forehead. "He's stable?" Jay asked the medic without looking at Ivy. "Stable," the medic confirmed. Jay exhaled once, a sound too soft to be called relief, but too real to be anything else. He turned to Ivy then, his eyes dark with fury and something deeper. "I told you visibility would put a target on your back," he said quietly. "Now, they've confirmed their intentions." "Who are they?" she whispered. "A syndicate we dismantled years ago," Jay said. "Someone's rebuilding it." "Because of me?" "No." His gaze sharpened. "Because of us. Your leverage. They failed tonight. They won't get another chance." Ivy didn't know if that was a promise or a threat. Before she could answer, Jay grabbed a medical kit and started disinfecting his hands. His jaw clenched with every tiny hiss of pain. She noticed something then tucked under his arm, a small black notebook. "What's that?" Ivy asked. Jay didn't want to answer. She could see it in the way his shoulders stiffened. But eventually, he handed it to her. "A ledger," he said. "From one of the attackers." Ivy opened it. Names, dates, transactions. Some crossed out, some marked with symbols she didn't recognize. One name was circled, Kim Seong-il. Next to it, a childish doodle of a boat with 2 stick figures drawn on top. "Why is this crossed out?" Ivy asked, pointing at it. "That's what I want to know," Jay said. She swallowed. "And the drawing?" "We don't know," Jay admitted, eyes narrowing. "But someone wanted you to see it." A chill swept her spine. Before Ivy could say another word, the lights flickered. A message alert chimed on Jay's phone. He read it. His expression changed. "What?" Ivy demanded. Jay turned the screen toward her. A photo, taken tonight, of Ivy right before the attack. Under it, a single line. This was only the warning. The twins left before sunrise. Ivy didn't hear the argument that led to it, only the muted thud of Jay's boots on the stairs, the low, firm Korean phrases exchanged between brothers, and then the rumble of engines pulling away from the estate. When she entered the basement suite, hours later, June's bed was empty. So was Jay's chair. The bunker felt hollow. Too quiet. A guard approached her. "They've gone to complete the retaliation strike. You're to remain inside the house until they return." "How long?" Ivy asked. The guard hesitated. "They didn't say." Fear rippled through her. Not of the danger outside, but of being left without answers, without control, without even the illusion of knowing what came next. For the first time, since arriving in Seoul, Ivy realized something. The twins weren't protecting her from the world. They were protecting the world from knowing how vulnerable she made them. And now she was alone. Day one felt like pacing in a gilded cage. The mansion hummed with security systems and distant checking of guards, but nothing felt real without June's warmth or Jay's sharp presence. Ivy tried to distract herself cooking, reading, even organizing the pantry, but every sound made her jump. The ledger sat on the coffee table like a taunt. Names in neat lines. Symbols beside them, and that doodle, a childish boat with 2 figures on it. Why show that to her? When night fell, Ivy sat at Jay's desk in the study. She opened the ledger, tracing the ink with her fingertip. If anything happens, trust this man. The message from the black suit envelope pulsed in her mind. Who was this man? And why had the suit been tailored exactly to her measurements? She opened Jay's computer. The password wasn't hard to guess. Her birthday. Reversed. That almost broke her. The screen lit up with live security feeds, corridors, courtyards, the perimeter fence. She clicked through until she found footage from the night of the attack. There, a figure near the gate, wearing cufflinks silver, engraved with 2 parallel lines. She zoomed in. Not enough resolution to see a face, but the cufflinks glinted distinctly each time the man moved. Why cufflinks during an attack? She ran the footage again and again. Something didn't line up. The man approached the gate without any weapon drawn. He didn't shoot. He didn't shout orders. He simply watched Ivy's window and then left. Ivy's pulse quickened. Was he scouting her, studying her, or delivering the flower that had appeared at the door days earlier? Her hands tightened. She needed more context. She returned to the ledger. Kim Seong-il, crossed out, a mark beside it, like a half-finished symbol. Ivy grabbed a notepad and copied the doodle of the boat. She stared at it for long minutes. 2 figures, on a boat, in a childlike style. Why leave a child's drawing unless it meant something? On day 2, Ivy found herself searching the twins' library for any clue, newspaper clippings, data sheets, old documents. But the mansion held its secrets tightly, so she turned to the only source she had left herself. Her father had taught her negotiation and observation long before his gambling mistakes wrecked their lives. He had told her, people reveal themselves in the corners. Watch the corners. So Ivy rewatched every angle of the security footage, the edges of frames, the shadows behind pillars, the half-reflections in glass. And she found it. A flash of silver cufflinks on a man stepping out of a black sedan near the street. The same pattern as the attacker. The same suit. Same height. But this man didn't attack. He waited, then sent a text. To who? Ivy checked the house logs. Jay's phone had received an anonymous message. 30 seconds later, the photo of Ivy during the attack. So the cufflink man was communicating with the attacker and with Jay? No, not with Jay. To Jay, to taunt him. Fear twisted in her chest, but something else flickered beneath it, resolve. She wouldn't sit and wait for the twins to fix everything. She refused to be a pawn in someone else's war. If someone wanted her as leverage, she would find out why. Day 3 arrived with gray skies and rain hitting the windows like restless fingers. Ivy woke determined. She opened the black suit's envelope again, unsealed it. Inside was a business card with a number and a handwritten instruction. If the twins leave, you will need help. The handwriting wasn't June's or Jay's. She grabbed her phone and dialed the number. It rang twice. A calm male voice answered. Ivy Park. She froze. No one, not even her own sister, called her that without hesitation. Who is this? A friend of your husband's, he said. And yours, if you let me be. How do you know my name? You're not as hidden as you think. Her stomach dropped. Did you send the suit? Yes. Why? In case you decide to stop being guarded, he said. She didn't know whether to slam the call shut or ask for more. What do you want? To help you survive what's coming. A chill ran through her spine. And what exactly is coming? Silence. Then he said one thing, one sentence, that felt like a knife being set gently at her throat. The man with the flower wasn't there to kill you. He was there to study you. Ivy's breath stilled. Study me for what? For the exchange, the voice said. If the twins want you back, they'll have to give something up. No, Ivy whispered. They'd burn the city down before they let that happen. Yes, the man agreed. And that is exactly why you're the perfect bait. The line disconnected. Ivy stared at the phone, heartbeat pounding. Bait. She wasn't being hunted. She was being positioned. Everything suddenly aligned. The flower, the cufflinks, the photograph from the attack, the childish boat drawing, the strange message predicting the future. She moved quickly. If someone wanted her as bait, she would flip the trap. She opened Jay's laptop, accessed the mansion's public-facing camera, and created a false social media post showing her location. Somewhere she wasn't. A bookstore near the river. Crowded, easy to lure watchers, easy to expose them. She sent the post privately to the twins' encrypted server so they'd know she was acting, not disappearing. Then she grabbed the black suit, put it on, and stepped outside into the cold rain. Heart racing, a black car slowed beside her. The window rolled down. A man with silver cufflinks rested his arm casually on the doorframe, gaze unreadable. "Get in," he said. Her breath halted, but she opened the door. If she wanted answers, she had to step into the trap herself. The car door closed with a soft thud, sealing Ivy inside with the man she had been studying for days. The air smelled faintly of mint and rain. He didn't look at her as the car pulled away from the curb. He simply adjusted his cufflinks, the silver glinting under the streetlights like a silent taunt. "You got in quickly," he said finally, voice smooth but distant. "Most people hesitate before stepping into danger." "I'm not most people," Ivy replied, though her heart hammered violently in her chest. "No," he mused, "that's why they chose you." "Who?" she demanded. He didn't answer. Instead, he watched the blurred city pass through the windshield. The car weaved through narrow streets, heading somewhere she didn't recognize. Industrial blocks, old harbor buildings, empty at this hour. Her pulse sharpened. "Where are you taking me?" she pressed. "To safety," he said, "or as close as you can get in your position." "Why help me?" He gave a small, almost pitying smile. "Because you have no idea what war you married into." The car slowed in front of a warehouse near the river. Faded paint, tall windows blacked out, a rusted chain dangling off the door. He stepped out and opened her door with surprising courtesy. Inside, every instinct screamed no. But if she ran, she'd learn nothing. And whoever orchestrated this wanted her confused. They wanted her uncertain. Ivy lifted her chin and followed. Inside, the warehouse was unexpectedly clean, bright lights, smooth concrete floors, empty except for a long table at the center. Papers scattered across it. A map of Seoul with several red circles. "Sit," the man said. She didn't. He sighed and leaned against the table. "You were never supposed to be touched during the attack," he said. "My employer wanted you frightened, not harmed. They needed you, movable." "Movable for what?" "Negotiation," he said simply. "The twins value you more than any asset they own. They would trade territory, information, perhaps even power to guarantee your safety." Ivy clenched her fists. "You expect me to believe this is about ransom?" "No." His gaze sharpened. "It's about leverage and legacy." Before she could ask what that meant, a loud, metallic click echoed from above. The man stiffened. Then, a voice rolled through the warehouse, speakers cold, controlled, familiar. "Jay, step away from her." The man exhaled, defeated. Too early. In the next instant, darkness swallowed the room, lights cut out, power severed. Ivy stumbled back. Heavy boots dropped from the rafters. Shadows moved with terrifying precision. June hit the ground first, landing in a controlled crouch. Jay descended seconds later. Gun raised. It had been an ambush, but not for Ivy. For him, strong hands grabbed the cufflink man, yanking him to his knees. June's men swarmed the space, weapons drawn, movements synchronized like choreography Ivy shouldn't have been able to understand but did. Her breath shook. The twins weren't surprised. They weren't panicked. They were executing a plan. You used me, Ivy whispered. June turned to her instantly. We protected you. You left me alone. To keep you out of the line of fire, Jay said. And to draw him out. The cufflink man laughed bitterly. She figured out the bait before you expected. Clever girl. Jay's jaw tightened. You should hope she stays clever. It's the only reason you're still breathing. Ivy took a step back, chest rising and falling too fast. Tell me the truth. All of it. June removed his mask, breathing hard from the descent. We suspected a leak in our organization. Someone feeding intel to the surviving fragments of Kim Song-il's ring. Kim Seong-il, the name from the ledger. The crossed out line. Jay continued. We needed to draw out his lieutenant. He wouldn't show himself unless he believed he had something we valued more than anything. Me, Ivy whispered. Yes, Jay said. Something cracked inside her. Not anger, betrayal. You could have told me, she said. You should have told me. No, Jay replied. If you knew, he would have known. He's been monitoring your calls, your browser history, your movements. He watches your hesitation, your tells, your breath patterns. A chill spread through her spine. How is that even possible? He's been studying you since the day we took your father out of danger, June said quietly. Even before you arrived in Seoul. That made her knees weaken. The cufflink man suddenly spoke, voice sharp, and she still has no idea why. Jay kicked him hard enough to silence him. Ivy turned away, not because she couldn't watch, but because she needed air, needed distance, needed to understand what her life had just become. The twins approached her slowly, as though she were something fragile they were afraid to break. June reached for her hand, then stopped himself. Ivy, talk to us. You used me, she said again, her voice thin. You made me bait, without my consent. We kept you alive, Jay corrected, by lying to me. A beat of silence. June exhaled, expression raw. Jay said nothing, because Jay didn't regret it. She could see it in his eyes. He would sacrifice anything, morality, comfort, trust, to keep her breathing. Tell me the rest, Ivy said. Voice steady now. No more secrets. Jay looked at June. June nodded. The ledger wasn't left by accident, Jay said. It was planted. Someone wanted you to find the name. And the drawing? Ivy asked. June pulled a photo from his pocket, another boat drawing. Same childish style. Same 2 dots for figures. This one was dated 2 years ago. How? It was delivered to our old headquarters, June said. Long before you came into our lives. Why show it to me now? We don't know, Jay admitted. But whoever sent it knows you'll be part of this war. They've ensured it. The lights flickered abruptly. A guard approached Jay with a phone. Sir, you should see this. Jay took the phone, brows knitting sharply. What now? Ivy demanded. Jay turned the screen toward her. A new message. A single line. No sender ID. You're playing catch-up. She already belongs to us. Attached was an image. A blurry, distant shot of Ivy, in the black suit, taken minutes before she walked into the warehouse. Her veins turned ice. June's face hardened. We need to move. Jay holstered his weapon, his voice a low command. This isn't over. They think they understand you. They don't. Ivy swallowed, trying to steady herself. So what now? Jay's eyes met hers. Now, he said, we hunt. The warehouse doors slammed shut behind them as they left. But even as they walked into the night, Ivy couldn't shake the truth, burning in her chest. Someone was ahead of them. Someone who knew more about her than they should. Someone who wasn't finished. And this time, she wouldn't wait to be protected. She'd act. Even if it meant stepping into darkness alone. 2 years rebuilt Ivy's life into something she once thought impossible. Morning sunlight spilled over the Seoul estate like a blessing. Children's laughter replaced alarms. The scent of jollof mingled with the steam of Korean soups in the kitchen. Ivy's sons Toby and Junseo raced through the hallway, identical in their chaos, different in their smiles. June caught Toby mid-sprint, lifting him with a dramatic groan. You're getting heavy, little man. Junseo tugged at Jay's pant leg. Appa, he cheated again. I saw, Jay deadpanned, lifting him effortlessly. He's learning from your uncle. Their home, once fortress and battlefield, had become a sanctuary. Almost. Ivy stood on the balcony, one hand resting over her stomach, another child on the way. Her Nigerian family visited often. Her father now ran a small community clinic, funded quietly by the twins. Life was soft, safe. But safety never lasted in the world she belonged to now. The first crack appeared on an ordinary Wednesday. Ivy arrived early to pick up the twins' sons from preschool. The teacher waved warmly, then paused, glancing nervously toward the playground. A man stood by the fence, too still, watching the children, not interacting, not smiling. When Ivy looked closer, her breath caught. She knew that face, older, sharper, but unmistakable. Kim Min-sok, son of the rival syndicate's founder, released months early, unmonitored. He lifted a hand in a casual mock greeting. Ivy moved instantly, calling the boys to her with a smile that masked terror. Toby, Junseo, time to go. The boys ran to her. The man at the fence watched them with that same cold calculation Ivy remembered from his father's men. Before she could react, a second man hidden until that moment lunged between parked cars, reaching for Junseo's wrist. Ivy didn't think. She shoved her son behind her and grabbed the man's arm with a reflex so sharp it startled even her. He staggered, miscalculating her strength. Another parent screamed. Teachers rushed forward. The attacker ran. Min-sok didn't. He simply smirked, tilted his head, as though confirming something about Ivy, and walked away calmly, disappearing into traffic before security could arrive. That night, the estate shook not from gunfire but from the weight of the twins' fury. "You should have called us immediately," Jay snapped. "I had 2 children with me," Ivy fired back. "Calling you wouldn't have stopped anything. My priority was getting them safe." "She's right," June murmured, jaw tight. This was a test. Min-sok wanted to see how she'd react. Ivy stared at both men. "And now you understand something too." "Which is?" Jay asked. "That I am not sitting on the sidelines anymore. If he wants to use me to get to you, then I'm part of the fight." Jay's brows lowered. "No. Yes," Ivy said, voice steady. "I'm not your weakness. I'm your equal." The silence that followed wasn't disbelief, it was realization. The woman they brought to Seoul had survived enough to stand with them now. June exhaled slowly. "Then you train with us, and when we go after him, you go too." Jay didn't argue again. 3 nights later, their plan went into motion. Min-sok was arrogant, violent, entitled by legacy, and thanks to Ivy's research, including the strange symbols from the ledger, she figured out where he'd rebuild his father's influence. The abandoned textile district bordering the river, exactly where the original syndicate began. The trap required precision. June handled strategy, Jay handled threats, Ivy handled the part no one else could, luring Min-seok into exposing his network publicly. She used a burner phone, sending a message crafted in Min-seok's own ruthless style. "If you want a real bargain, come alone. Midnight. Bring what your father promised." They knew he wouldn't come alone. That was the point. Midnight found Ivy standing in an abandoned street, lit only by flickering lampposts. Rain dripped from the broken signage. Her breath fogged the cold air. A black car pulled up. Min-seok stepped out, slow, confident, hands in his pockets. "Your husbands must be very desperate, sending their wife to negotiate." "They didn't send me," Ivy said. "I came because you crossed a line." "Oh?" He smirked. "Which one?" "You looked at my children." His smile faltered. "A small victory. Not enough." Min-seok moved closer. "Your fathers, your sons, your husband's power, everything your life touches. It can all be traded. That's how this world works." "You don't understand my world," Ivy said. "And you miscalculated the cost of touching it." She pressed a button hidden inside her jacket. Lights blasted on from the rooftop of a nearby building, spotlights illuminating Min-seok and his men. Camera drones rose into the air, lenses pointed at him. Live streaming. Jay stepped from the shadows on one side of the street, June on the other. Guards closed in from every direction. Min-seok froze. "You're broadcasting?" he hissed. Yes, Ivy said calmly. To every investigative journalist who's been trying to expose your family's operations for a decade. You stupid. He lunged. Not for Ivy. For the drone controller strapped to her wrist. June intercepted him first, grabbing Min-seok's arm and twisting it behind his back in a single brutal motion. Jae finished it, slamming him to the ground with a force that echoed across the district. Min-seok spat blood. You think this stops anything? My father's allies will. You won't have allies after tonight, Ivy said softly. Jae lifted the controller from her wrist and zoomed the drone directly onto Min-seok's face. He tried to rise. June shoved him back down. Ivy stepped forward. Tell them everything, now. Min-seok laughed once, sharp, mocking. Or what? You'll kill me on camera? No, Ivy said. We'll let you talk long enough to destroy every last connection you have. And he did. Not because he wanted to, but because the twins understood pressure better than anyone. The drones captured every word, every admission, every name in his network. June controlled the stream. Jae controlled Min-seok's pain. Ivy controlled the narrative. By dawn, Kim Min-seok's organization had collapsed. And Ivy had crossed a line she could never uncross. 5 years later, she still remembered the expression on his face when they dragged him away, realizing too late that the woman he underestimated had ended everything he'd inherited. Now, Ivy stood on the terrace of their renovated estate. 5 children played in the yard. Toby and Junseo racing bicycles. Nari chasing bubbles. Misan tugging at a doll's dress. Baby Jaemin toddling after a butterfly. Peace, fragile, warm, earned, covered the home like sunlight. Inside, Jae oversaw a meeting for their now legitimate business group. June laughed with the children in the living room, helping tie a shoelace. Ivy touched the drawer beneath her desk. Inside lay the black suit, the anonymous photograph, the boat drawing dated years before she met the twins. A reminder that safety was never absolute. A reminder that she had chosen this life and shaped it. A knock sounded at the door. A delivery man handed her a package with no return address. Inside, a small wooden toy boat. 2 painted dots on it. Just like the drawing. Her heart skipped. Someone out there was still watching. She closed the box gently, lifted her chin, and whispered, "Let them come. If any moment in this story hit you hard, tell me which one. Like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. More stories are coming, each one hitting just as deep. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.